What if I told you that the biggest prison in the world has no walls, no locks, and no guards, and yet millions of people spend their entire lives trapped inside it? The prison is fear, not the fear of real danger, not the fear that protects you from harm, but the silent fear that follows you everywhere. The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of losing money, the fear of being judged, the fear of making the wrong decision, the fear of not being enough. And here's the shocking truth. Most people never overcome it, not because fear is too powerful, not because they are too weak, but because they never understand what fear really is. They spend years fighting shadows, years running from feelings, years waiting to feel brave before they take action, and that day never comes. Maybe you've felt it too. Maybe there is something you want to do, a dream you want to pursue, a business you want to start, a conversation you need to have, a life you secretly want to create. But every time you think about moving forward, something inside you pulls you back. A voice whispers, "What if you fail? What if it doesn't work? What if people laugh at you? What if you lose everything?" And suddenly the future feels dangerous. So you wait, you delay, you hesitate, you stay where you are, not because you want to, but because fear convinces you that staying stuck is safer than moving forward. Today we're going to uncover why 99% of people never escape this cycle, and more importantly, how you can become part of the 1%. Because once you understand a simple truth taught by wise monks for centuries, fear begins to lose its power. Not overnight, not magically, but steadily, quietly, powerfully. And by the end of this journey, you may never look at fear the same way again. Fear rarely announces itself. It doesn't always arrive as panic. It doesn't always feel dramatic. Most of the time, fear wears a disguise. It appears as procrastination. It appears as perfectionism. It appears as overthinking. It appears as waiting for the right moment. Have you noticed that? You tell yourself you're being careful. You tell yourself you're planning. You tell yourself you're preparing. But deep inside, something else is happening. Fear is making decisions for you. Imagine a person standing at the edge of a beautiful forest. Beyond that forest lies everything they desire. Growth, freedom, abundance, peace. But they never enter. Why? Because they keep imagining what could go wrong. There might be obstacles. There might be uncertainty. There might be discomfort. So they stay where they are, safe, comfortable, and deeply unfulfilled. Years pass. Nothing changes, not because opportunity never appeared, but because fear quietly stole every opportunity before it could bloom. This is the hidden cost of fear. It doesn't just create pain, it steals possibility, it steals potential, it steals entire futures. And the saddest part? Most people don't even realize it's happening. Long ago, a young monk approached his teacher. His face was filled with worry. His eyes carried exhaustion. For years he had struggled with fear. Fear of failure, fear of uncertainty, fear of not becoming who he wanted to be. One evening he asked his master, "How do I get rid of fear?" The old monk smiled. He pointed toward the setting sun. The young monk looked down and saw a giant shadow stretching across the ground. The shadow looked enormous, powerful, almost frightening. The master asked, "What happens if you run from it?" The young monk replied, "It follows me." The master nodded. "And what happens if you turn toward the sun?" The young monk turned. Instantly, the shadow fell behind him. The master said softly, "Fear is like a shadow. The more you run from it, the more it follows. The moment you face the light, fear loses its control." The young monk never forgot those words, and perhaps neither should we. Because most people spend their lives running from fear, very few learn to face the light. Let's explore something important. Fear is not your enemy. Read that again. Fear is not your enemy. This may sound strange. After all, fear feels unpleasant. Fear feels limiting. Fear feels painful, but fear itself is simply a signal, a messenger, a form of energy. The problem begins when we misunderstand the message. Imagine hearing a fire alarm. The alarm is not the fire. It is only information. Fear works the same way. It signals uncertainty. It signals change. It signals growth. But the mind often interprets that signal as danger, and that's where suffering begins. Many fears are not about what is happening now. They are about what might happen. They exist in imagination, not in the present moment. And when we live inside imagined disasters, fear becomes stronger than reality. The human mind is designed to protect you. Thousands of years ago, this was essential. Danger was everywhere. Predators, harsh environments, unexpected threats. The mind evolved to constantly scan for problems. Even today, it continues doing the same thing. The problem is that modern fears are different. Most people are not running from wild animals. They are running from opinions, embarrassment, failure, uncertainty. The mind cannot always tell the difference. To the brain, social rejection can feel like physical danger. Making a mistake can feel like survival is at risk. Starting something new can feel terrifying. So the mind sounds the alarm again and again. But here is what many people never realize. The mind's job is not to make you happy. Its job is to keep you alive. Sometimes that means encouraging safety over growth, comfort over expansion, familiarity over possibility. And if you blindly obey every fearful thought, your life gradually becomes smaller, not larger. Part 2. One of the biggest lies fear tells is this: wait until you feel confident. How many dreams have been destroyed by that sentence? People believe confidence comes first, then action follows. But wise teachers throughout history discovered the opposite. Action creates confidence, not the other way around. Think about learning to swim. Were you confident before entering the water? Of course not. Confidence appeared after experience, after practice, after movement. Yet when it comes to life, people often expect certainty before action. They want guarantees. They want proof. They want complete safety. And because life never offers those things, they remain stuck. The monk understands something different. He does not wait for courage. He walks with fear. He acts while uncertainty exists, and each step weakens fear's grip. Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement despite fear. Imagine standing before a locked door. Behind it is the life you want. Freedom, growth, purpose, abundance. The key is already in your hand, but fear whispers, don't open it. What if something goes wrong? So you stand there, day after day, year after year, never realizing something profound. The fear was never guarding the door. It was guarding the version of you that is ready to grow. Every meaningful transformation begins with discomfort. Every major breakthrough begins with uncertainty. Every new chapter begins before you feel ready. The people who overcome fear are not special. They simply stop waiting for fear to disappear. Instead, they learn to walk through the door anyway. And that changes everything. Right now, wherever you are, imagine closing your eyes. Take a slow breath in and a gentle breath out. Notice your body. Notice the chair beneath you. Notice the air around you. Now think about a fear you've been carrying. Don't fight it. Don't suppress it. Simply observe it. Where do you feel it? In your chest, your stomach, your throat? Become curious. Watch it like a scientist observing a cloud. Notice that fear changes. It moves. It shifts. It rises and falls. This is important because when you observe fear without resisting it, something remarkable happens. You realize you are not the fear. You are the awareness observing it. And awareness is always bigger than fear. That realization is the beginning of freedom. Now let me share a simple practice used by monks for centuries. Whenever fear appears, do not immediately react. Pause. Take 3 slow breaths. Ask yourself one question. Is this fear protecting me or limiting me? Sit quietly with the answer. Many times you will discover that the fear is not warning you about danger. It is warning you about growth. And growth always feels uncomfortable in the beginning. The caterpillar must leave its old form. The seed must break open beneath the soil. The river must leave the mountain before reaching the ocean. Transformation requires movement, and movement requires trust. Trust does not mean knowing exactly what will happen. Trust means believing that you can handle whatever happens. That single shift changes everything. For a moment, imagine your future self, the version of you who has already overcome this fear. See that person clearly. Notice how they walk. Notice how they speak. Notice how calm they seem. Notice the confidence in their eyes. Now ask yourself something powerful. What decisions would that future version of me make today? Would they keep delaying? Would they keep hiding? Would they keep doubting themselves? Or would they take one small step forward? That future self is not a different person. That future self is you. The only difference is action. The only difference is courage practiced consistently. Fear wants you to focus on what could go wrong. Wisdom invites you to consider what could go right. What if this opportunity changes your life? What if this conversation heals a relationship? What if this risk leads to growth? What if this challenge reveals your strength? Most people spend their lives imagining worst-case scenarios. Very few spend time imagining best-case possibilities. That is why fear wins. Not because it is stronger, but because it receives more attention. Energy flows where attention goes. The more attention you give fear, the larger it becomes. The more attention you give possibility, the stronger you become. This is why mindfulness is so powerful. Mindfulness teaches you where to place your attention, not on imagined disasters.